Yeah, so when I first saw those views, I feel like there were the best views from any house that we'd ever done. So that was like one big selling feature for me when I was buying it, and then when we ended up selling it. But anyway, what is up, fam? We are back in the studio.
I was blocking my peace sign.
Sorry. We're back in the studio after a little bit of a hiatus. We haven't been pushing out too much content lately. We're taking a break, relaxing, went on vacation.
Recovering from illness, repetitive illness.
Yep. But we are back and we're going to push out a bunch of content. We're happy to be here. And today we are going to do a deal deep dive.
Deep dive?
Deep dive. And we're going to be talking about a property that we bought and renovated and sold last year.
We also did a Deals in Aloha meetup at it.
We did. It was a very unique property. We went back and forth whether or not we were going to buy it.
I said don't buy it. He said buy it.
I said buy it, and
we ended up buying it.
Who do you think made the right call?
At the end of the day, it was the right call to buy it.
Right.
But it was not without its challenges and delays and headaches and gray hairs and pimples and stress.
Yeah, it was a tough project to say the least. But
and to move, it was a doozy.
It was a tough deal. But I always say the tough deals oftentimes are well worth it. Sometimes they turn out to be the best deals. But so let's jump into this one. This house was in Hawaii Kai. Not the first house we've done in Hawaii Kai, but it was the first house that we'd ever done on Mariners Ridge. And Mariners Ridge is basically a community in Hawaii Kai that is up on this literal ridge. And it's known
luxury.
Hawaii Kai is, just general background, is a little bit higher class neighborhood. The homes sell for, between they can go up to $20 million on the beach in Port Lock. So it's definitely an upper class neighborhood. The finishes that you choose have to reflect that. The price points obviously are higher, so purchase prices are higher. There's a lot of risk involved when we're dealing with houses at that price point. But anyway, Mariners Ridge is actually known for like the unreal views.
Oh my gosh. The views are 1 in a million. They're stunning.
Yeah.
And that house, I think, is what sold you, was the views. That's
100%.
like one of the main, if not the only reason you're like, no, there's no views like this anywhere. Like, we have to buy this house.
Yeah, so when I first saw those views, I feel like there were the best views from any house that we'd ever done. So that was like one big selling feature for me when I was buying it, and then when we ended up selling it. But anyway, let's talk about how we got the lead.
How did you get the lead?
So the lead came in from an initial text message. And yes, you can get deals from text messages on houses that are purchased for over $1 million. And we do it all the time. We reached out.
It's just normal in Hawaii.
Yeah. We reached out via text message. Seller responded. We went back and forth on the phone for about a month before I ended up going out to the house. And it's interesting because I went out to the house.
Without me.
Without you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wait, just retrack real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to, just for reference, this is all in 2021. Acquisition of this house was in 2021. It's crazy to think about because now it's 2023.
Right.
Bananas.
Right.
Anyway, all right, continue.
Okay, acquisition was in 2021, but we sold in 2022.
Yes.
Yeah.
We bought the house in July of 2021, but you were working on it months prior.
Right. So we sold it last year in 2022.
Yeah.
So, we had a phone call.
Yeah, your phone just going.
It's part of it.
Put on in the do not disturbed. Cannot be disturbed right now.
So the house came from a text message. Initial contact was a text message. Jumped on a phone call. We went back and forth for about a month. I went out to look at the house. We got an appointment to look at the house. When I was out there, I found out that seller's wife had passed away. He had an adult child with some disability that he was taking care of, and it was just getting too much for him. And he was going to move to Texas to live with his brother and some other family members. So he was looking to sell. He was looking to sell quickly. He wanted an easy process, but he still had a specific price that he wanted in mind.
Yes.
And so because of that, I told him, like, let's backtrack a little. The house itself is set up on
a mountain. Like a freaking huge rock mountain.
It is on a mountain.
Literally, you're going up Mariners Ridge, and anybody who's gone to the Dills and Aloha meetup, specifically there, it's very evident that it is on top of a freaking mountain, because you're driving up Mariners Ridge, and you see all of these houses going up the hillside, all street level. Then they just decided, when they were developing the mountain, to stop cutting into it right then and there. And then there's our house.
Right.
You have house, mountain of rock, our house.
Yeah. So
ridiculous.
I coined it the King of the Hill house just because it was a house on the mountain, but
it was pretty bananas.
Yeah, it was crazy. So because it was on the mountain, there was about 60 stairs. So because it was on a hill, there were a ton of stairs going up to the house. I mean, like a lot.
Well, and it's funny. Yeah, it's not funny, but when we first were walking it, the first time you took me there, it was so unsafe because it was wood stairs, and the wood stairs were disintegrating.
Right.
And the stairs were the only way to get up to the home. Biggie. My gosh.
Biggie wants a piece.
And I think it was like 60 or 70 stairs when we bought it, and we got it down to 40 something.
When we did our
don't
remodel.
quote me on that.
Yeah.
But I said we have to try and eliminate some of these stairs, because that was my biggest fear with buying the house, and that's why I didn't want to buy it, was because anytime you're dealing with access to a property where you have to get to it from stairs, it just limits your buyer pool.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the carport downstairs, you have to walk up 60 stairs with groceries, with anything that you're carrying.
Like, personally, fuck that.
With babies, with, you know what I mean?
So we knew it wasn't going to be a family house,
right,
per se.
Right. So the question we had to ask ourselves was, is the view basically gonna outshine the stairs? Are we still gonna find a buyer?
And the
in
design
the end,
had to outshine it.
The renovation design, definitely. And so in the end, we decided that, yes, maybe our buyer pool was going to be shrunk, but because we're going to do what we do to houses combined with that view, we still knew that there was a buyer out there for it. As long as...
I mean, I just trusted you ultimately, but I was reluctant the whole time.
We got it at the right price. That's what it came down to.
Correct. So you went out there.
I went out there.
You walked it. You connected with the buyer. But then what happened?
So
the seller.
I basically ran all my numbers on the house. The house is in bad condition, need a full gut remodel.
But not the worst we've seen.
No, structurally it was all right.
Right.
But I mean, still it
was
needed
dated.
a full gut
but it
rehab.
Was pretty good. It was in good
and
shape.
So the other thing that I realized was that if we were going to find a buyer, we needed to add some outdoor living space, because there was none.
Zero.
Right?
None
at all. So we'll get into that after. But when I ran my numbers, I figured out that we could come in and pay $1.1 million for this house, and we would be good at 1.1. So when I told the seller what we could pay for the house. He wasn't too happy with that.
Yeah.
He honestly was hoping for closer to 1.3 million.
Wasn't going to happen with us.
I knew it wasn't going to happen, period, but he didn't know that yet. And sometimes with sellers, you guys, they have to go through this process. So what ended up happening was the seller reached out to a realtor who agreed to list the house at 1.3 million, even though I know that he knew, that realtor knew that that price was too high.
Well, and you warned him about everything that's going to go on with that property and listing it with a realtor.
I said, great, you should list it with the realtor. This is what's going to happen. The house is going to end up sitting on the market. Now, granted, guys, we're in 2021, the hottest real estate market ever.
Bananas,
right?
Yeah.
I said the house is going to sit. You might get some people that are interested. They're going to maybe submit an offer close to 1.3, but then when they do their inspection,
all these things are going to come up.
Right, all these things are going to come up. They're going to try and beat you up on the price. And I said, this is what's going to happen. So let me see if this will work for you, okay? You go out and list it with this realtor for 1.3, but when all of these things happen, make sure that with your listing agent, you put in a clause that you are able to cancel the listing with them and sell it to me without any commissions if he can't sell the house. And so seller agreed to do that.
Which is wild, and it's a testament to how much rapport and trust you built with that seller.
Right. And so what happens? He lists the house
he gets an offer.
In the first week,
Yeah.
he gets 3 offers.
Oh, 3 offers.
Yes, he gets
when it goes with 1.
3 offers. He goes with 1. It's at 1.3.
Yeah.
During the inspection,
What happens?
homeowner goes through with the inspector. They come back and they ask for
A bunch of credits.
a ton of credits.
One of them being the stairs.
Right.
Because like I said, the stairs were janky and extremely unsafe, and you couldn't get traditional financing with those stairs because they're not safe, and no homeowner's insurance probably wouldn't have insured the property. So like they were asking for a massive credit, right, to rebuild the stairs.
Right.
Yeah.
And so this happens over a month and a half period. Well, he goes out and finds a realtor and does
maybe
all of that stuff.
Maybe 2 months.
Maybe a little longer than a month. But what ends up happening is he comes back to me and he says, guess what, Kamohai? Exactly what you said was going to happen ended up happening.
Right.
I am not happy with this. Now it's 2 months later. I still haven't been able to move. All I want to do is sell my house.
Right.
Will you still buy my house? And I said, okay, let me come back out there and let me look at the property.
I think that's when I went with you.
Yeah. You went with me. You met seller. We ran our numbers again.
I think we even brought
one of our contractors.
No. Yeah, we brought one of our contractors, and I think we brought one of our realtors because it was such a specific property that we wanted to get their opinion on resale and how to really sell the thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I come back and I tell the seller, yes, we can do it really quick. We're still interested, but I no longer can buy the house for 1.1 million.
Mm-hmm.
I actually need to buy it for $1,050,000.
And
seller said, you know what?
He wanted to move.
It's
already.
yours.
He was done with the house.
Yep.
He was tired of dealing with it. And yeah, so he was motivated, and we locked it up.
We locked it up
So
at
that was in June
$1,050,000.
sometime. That was in June. I think you started talking to him in like April.
Yeah.
And we closed July 23rd of 2021 for $1,050,000.
Right.
And we kicked it off pretty much right after that, maybe a week after that in August.
Right.
And the headaches began.
Well, now it's your department. So I locked up a deal. What happened after that?
I mean, the first thing we had to do, we could demo, right? But how you guys were talking like a vertical, like what, 90? 90
I mean, not 90, but it was
there's
so
one
steep.
section that's
it was steep.
Anyway, so like we had to figure out how to get materials up to the house, which was a challenge. You couldn't, so we were like, oh, we'll just crane it up. You can't. because cranes operate on level surfaces to lift things up to unlevel surfaces, and we're on
a mountain.
A mountain.
Hill. Yeah. Even the road was not
Mariner's
level enough.
Ridge is a hill. So the crane said no. So every single piece of material, and again, we said this on Adils and Aloha, that every single piece of material, nails down to huge glue lamp beams, had to be hand carried up these stairs. Mm-hmm. And the first thing we had to do was demo the inside of the house, and then we had to rebuild stairs. And we were like, well, what kind of stairs are we going to do? Because we can't use wood. I mean, we could use decking material, but then we really were trying to go for a modern type of flair. And
I think it was that plot. Like, we could have done wood, but what we realized is that
it was just going to deteriorate, just like the first one was.
10 years later, whoever buys the house is going to have to redo the stairs
because
again.
The elements up there are wild. I mean, so when it rains, it rains. When it blows wind, it's wild wind. So we decided collectively that we wanted to do concrete stairs, and we also wanted to run electrical, because if we're going to deal with these stairs, let's actually deal with it and try to make it a selling feature on its own. Mm-hmm. That was the idea.
Right.
And so we went with the modern concrete stair with electrical hardwired in that lights up when you walk, et cetera, et cetera. That was a nightmare because, oh my gosh, just doing the forms took forever. I think we fired one person who was doing it, the concrete form in the forms, brought somebody else in. Then we had to special order lights and wait.
The lights for the stairs.
I think we
took
waited
forever
for the lights to come in,
4 months. Yeah.
And then we had to wait for the electrical inspector to come once the electrical was actually laid in before you could pour concrete to make sure it was good. That took a long time. Then we actually did the concrete. So it was just a long time, months before we could even start interior work on the house.
Right. Because without stairs, how do we get anything up there?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was a huge challenge because usually you'd be in and out of house max 6 to 8 months. Usually you want to move it within 3 or 4. We weren't even starting to jam on the inside of the home
until 8 months.
Until 6 to 8 months. You know what I mean? So it was really, really challenging. So then once we got in, they still had to hand carry everything up the stairs. So what should take a day takes 5 days. You know what I mean? Because you're not just dealing with 2 steps, you're dealing with 40. And the men are tired, you know, it's not a small thing.
Our contractors hated us, to say the least.
And you know what? I don't blame them. And that's why I said we're never buying a mountain again.
Maybe.
No.
For the right price.
So yeah. And then, so once we did the interior, it was good, but then we had to build the decks.
Right. And let's talk about that. So earlier I was saying that one thing that I recognized was that there was literally no outdoor space. You guys, there was a lot of land, but it was a mountain.
Yeah.
The lot was 25,000 square feet, which is
no yard, no level,
quadruple what most lots are up there. Mm-hmm. At least 3 times as big. But none of it was usable.
Yeah.
You had your house and that's it.
That's it. So that's what we wanted to do is we were like, okay, well, we have to make this usable. You have to have usable exterior space, and it's not going to be backfilling and retaining walls. You know what I mean? To create a yard. It's going to be decks.
Too much.
So we're like, okay, well, if we're going to build some decks, let's build some mother effing decks. So we built some
yes.
That sounded not like decks. That sounded like the other.
It was decks. I said decks. So we knew that we needed to create that outdoor space, and we did that through over 1,000 square feet of
not just one deck, not just 2 decks.
3 decks.
3 decks.
Right.
We did it. We built 3 decks. One on the front facing stairs going up. That was kind of like a little resting point. Mm-hmm. And then a huge 2-tier deck off of your second living room and primary.
one in between. So there was 4.
Oh, there's 4.
Yeah. There was 4.
How could we forget about that?
Yeah. That
so
was
not
my
just
favorite
one deck, not just 2 decks.
4 decks.
Not just 3 decks. 4 decks. So
Yeah.
we had, the one connecting. And what's really cool about that one is if the homeowner wants to increase square footage to make exterior or interior square footage, they can easily frame that thing up and have a lot more interior square footage. But that's my favorite deck too.
Yeah.
And that's where we bless the house.
Right. And so we solved the problem of not having any exterior space because now
Correct.
you can let your kids run around
You
out
have
there.
multiple.
You can go out there and have dinner and you know what I mean? It just made way more sense.
It made indoor-outdoor living possible for that house, and it allowed you to truly capitalize on the view.
What you're going to realize throughout this is that we were trying to figure out ways to offset those stairs in any way that we could.
Right.
And we were doing that. Okay, yes, we had a dope view, but we needed a cool design. We needed a well-renovated house, but we also needed like outdoor space and decks and things that would be more valuable potentially to a buyer than the fact that they're going to
distract you from the stairs.
Distract you.
Make the experience at the top of the stairs worth every step to get there. You know what I mean?
Right.
So design, I immediately walked in there and I was like, Kamohai is like king of the hill. And I'm like, we got to do like Vegas luxury gaudy. So that's kind of what I went with really intense veining, dark colors, just black and whites for modern appeal. And what that primary suite off the bathroom is still one of my favorites. I say every house is my favorite, but we've never done something like that where we tiled every wall, had this really cool tub that just stood like it was just a
freestanding tub,
really cool
shower. Yeah, it was unreal. It was awesome.
Yeah. We never did a black shiny cab before. So like just bringing in that custom component was really nice. Everything was floating in the bathroom. So all the cabinetry was floating. All the plumbing fixtures were wall mount. It was just really, really, I feel like it would still be timeless. I feel like black and white is very timeless. So that design will still stand in 10 years.
Yeah. So how long did it take?
So that
and how much did it cost?
After everything was all said and done with the delays and the upgrades and the decks and the stairs and the manual labor it took, our initial budget on this house was just comical to think we could have done it. It was $220,000. We ended up at $297.
$297,000. Yeah.
Well, I'll give you the exacts. $103.88. Okay. That was our renovation cost on this house. And so we ended up selling it on September 9th of 2022. We finished renovation like a year to the date, and then we went on market and sold it a month later. It's important if you're going to do deals in an area that you're not super familiar with to reach out to another investor that is familiar with that area and have them help you do your due diligence, because it can make or break your deal.
100%.
Because you also, like, if it was actually a main roadway or highway or whatever, you have to disclose that.
Yeah.
And your dog.
Yeah. And that affects value a lot. So, moral of the story, buy your deals right. That was Kaluanui Road, from purchase to sale. It was a one-of-a-kind deal, that's for sure. And we came out on top. Yep. And again, I'll say this in forever. Tell my husband, don't buy any more mountains. Unless we get it for the right price. All right, guys. Let us know if you have any questions about this deal in the comments. Like, subscribe, follow if you like our content. Share, all the things. Time to get paid, blow up like